You know the drill. It's been 10 long years since Rayman Legends, Rayman's last appearance in a big mainline console game, and personally, maybe my single favorite 2D platformer ever made. Since then, Rayman creator Michel Ancel has left the gaming industry, and IP owner Ubisoft has, well, shifted its focus, rather dramatically, and all but pretended Rayman didn't even exist, seemingly leaving one of the greatest platforming mascots of all time to wither on the vine. Enter the hero of our story, Davide Soliani and his Mario plus Rabbids teams, who not only persuaded Shigeru Miyamoto himself to allow them to create all new turn-based Mario games, but went one step further and somehow, some way, managed to jailbreak our boy. And to the collective disbelief of fans everywhere, Soliani is featuring Ray in the final DLC episode of Sparks of Hope, which should be releasing sometime within the next 4 to 5 months. That fact alone is crazy to think about. Rayman will be a playable character in a Nintendo Ubisoft crossover Mario game. That's a far cry from where we were not so long ago. I've shared this before, but as critical as I can be of both Ubisoft and Nintendo and how they do business, I really love the Mario plus Rabbids games. The unique spin on tactical turn-based combat, the Pixar-level details the devs poured into character animations, the wacky weapons and enemy designs that pay tribute to so many concepts from so many different places. They're fun, wholesome games that have completely rebranded and reintroduced the Rabbids to a new generation of gamers. And to top it off, Mario plus Rabbids has unexpectedly emerged as a real port in the storm for the Rayman franchise, which many of us were beginning to doubt had any chance of being revived. Now, look, I know how some fans feel. They don't want Rayman being shoehorned into some random DLC pack. They want an all-new game, preferably a 3D platformer that brings the franchise back in earnest. And I get it, because I want that too. And look, over the last couple years here on my channel, I've analyzed Rayman to death, imagining every possible scenario for the franchise, good and bad, and even predicted his inclusion in Mario plus Rabbids. And that's because this is a realistic reboot for a franchise that appeared dead in the water. In a fantasy world, yeah, we would just have a new Rayman game in our hands. But Ubisoft doesn't appear interested in relinquishing ownership of the IP at this point in time, yet they clearly don't seem that interested in developing a new standalone game either. We've also learned that their sales standards are so crazy and unrealistic that even if a new Rayman game sold, 5 million copies, it'd probably still be considered a commercial failure. So here and now, this feels like the best case scenario for Ray. Soliani, who we know adores Rayman and has hands-on history with the IP, who's clearly the next best steward of the IP in this post-Ancel era, is doing everything in his power to keep our favorite limbless mascot alive. I'm just so grateful something positive is happening after so many years. If you're a longtime Rayman fan like myself, you know how tough the last decade has been. And as I discussed in another video earlier this year, if you are a fan and you can afford to do so, vote with your wallet and support Sparks of Hope, and specifically this Rayman DLC. Send a message loud and clear to Yves Guillemot and the other corporate suits at Ubisoft that Rayman is loved and missed and still a viable gaming IP. With all that being said, I want to slow down, have some fun, and just geek out about the fact that we have our first new Rayman design in 10 years. An all new silhouette and model that's familiar, but pretty unique too. Before we start dissecting the design itself, I have to give a shout out to Ubisoft's Yves Barthez and Giacomo Boni, who I'm sure with a ton of input and help from their teammates had a big hand in bringing Ray back to life. They're both super talented artists and fun follows on Twitter and ArtStation if you're into gaming art. They're also super responsive to fan inquiries and are always sharing cool stuff they're working on too. Here's what Yves said himself about the new Rayman design on Twitter back in late 2022. Here's some new arts for Mario plus Rabbids DLCs. It was challenging yet fun to make those in such a short time. Doing art with Rayman still feels crazy to me as I joined Ubisoft, hoping to work with that character one day. I wish you like them and can't wait to show you more. Thanks to Marie and Baptiste as well as the MKT team for their help on those ones. And big thanks to Davide, Mauro, the concept artists, 3D artists, riggers, and all the other persons involved in making sure we have the 3D models just in time for those arts. You guys rock. And then here's what Giacomo said also in November of 2022. Well, I guess the eggplant is out of the bag. Here you can see the design I came up with for a modern spin on Rayman. Hope you're happy with it. It certainly was a dream come true to modernize this amazing character. So props to these guys and everyone else who is working on making this Rayman DLC a success, and a long-awaited love letter to fans who have been so desperate to see Rayman back in a proper console game. So time to get into the design itself. My eyes are immediately drawn to the hoodie pocket. That's a first, I believe, for Rayman. Maybe the most notable change or addition here altogether, and I think it's a really smart one, because back in 1995, Ray kind of looked like an eggplant with a red scarf, and by 2003, the scarf had clearly turned into a hood, complete with drawstrings, which, by the way, these new drawstrings look excellent. I love that textural detail. But the commitment to the hoodie here with the pocket, it just feels right. It makes Ray feel fun and youthful and relatable. I love the detail on the shoes too. His shoes have changed a lot over the years as well. Always blocky and yellow, but with slightly different patterns and outsoles. And for Sparks of Hope, his shoes feel most inspired by Rayman 1 shoes to me. His teeth too, I want to say in like Rayman 3 you can count his individual teeth, but here it also reminds me much more of Rayman 1, just that smooth, straight white line. His hair and eyebrows are definitely more in line with Origins and Legends. That'll probably be a more polarizing aspect of this new design. I know a lot of people really love the floppy propeller hair from the early games. 3 kind of marked a halfway point. His hair is still floppy, but starting to move toward that tighter, spikier, edgier style. Personally, I do think I'm a bit partial to that shocked Super Saiyan vibe, especially from Origins and Legends. But then, in contrast to the hair, the round, plump shape of his nose, again, makes me think the artists were taking a lot of cues from Rayman 1 here. Personally, I'd say Sparks of Hope Rayman feels mostly like a mashup of Rayman 1 and Rayman Legends, with maybe a dash of Hoodlum Havoc Rayman in there. So very much marrying the old with the new. Probably trying to please everyone, which is always an impossible task, but yeah, in general, there's this puffy, squishy, pillowy quality to his design, whereas he's a bit skinnier and sharper and rawer in some of the past games, so it's interesting to think about. If I were to scrutinize any single detail, I think it might be the eyebrows. I'm used to those long, super expressive eyebrows from Origins and Legends. Here, they're a bit shorter. There are a few moments in the most recent trailer, though, where I think they look a little bolder, a little more like classic Rayman, although to say classic is a bit of a misnomer because Rayman hasn't always had eyebrows. That's a newer invention for the character model. And just to be clear with you about where I'm coming from, my favorite 2D Rayman game is Legends, as I said before. My favorite 3D Rayman game is 2. But my single favorite Rayman design is likely the one from Origins. I think, in general, my favorite character models are from Origins. I love that flat, cartoony art style, very fun and expressive and slapsticky. But my favorite world design and color palette overall is from 2. Those scary, spooky, swampy, ghostly vibes are really hard to top in my opinion. Hopefully some of those flavors appear in the DLC levels, because I know I'm not alone in wanting dark Rayman again. I'm getting carried away, but imagine pirate rabbit enemies and all the ways in which they could bring elements of 2 into the DLC. I don't know if they're going to go that far, but it is a nice thought. But if we're going to talk about Rayman's design, I have to rope in my good friend Leon, aka TheMrLeoniasty, basically the most knowledgeable Rayman expert I know, who's a professional designer and animator himself, who's been featured on my channel before, and who even recreated the intro of Rayman 2 in a stunning video you can watch over on his channel. Leon, what's up, man? I know you're looking at the new images right now on your monitor. Tell me where your head's at with this design.
Hi, Terapop. I'm the biggest Rayman 2 fan. I mean, the model of Rayman 2 and the game, so that's my ideal Rayman. So I see this one is based on the Rayman 3 model, which is more teenagey, edgy style. But I see they took that edge and rounded it everywhere they could. He looks pillowy. Yeah, the ears, the hair, it's ballooned up quite a bit. Wait, the hair looks different from the teaser they put out. Yeah, this looks like a more family-friendly version of Rayman in my opinion. Like the Mario movie comes out now. This looks like a version of Rayman that would be in such a movie. Oh, his hoodie is big. Oh, you can see the color of his eyes. Rayman 3 has black eyes. In some Rayman 2 posters, he has just black dots for eyes. The Rayman 2 original model has black dots. Here he has brown eyes and teeth. Yeah, there's so much they put into the realism of him here. It's interesting to see. I mean, yeah, he had teeth in Rayman 3. Yeah, I think my final opinion is this is based on the Rayman 3 model, which it's not edgy enough. It's not teenagey. It's a more family-friendly version of the Rayman 3 model, which is also quite cool. But I mean, hard to tell from just one photo. I'm cautiously optimistic for this Rayman version. Gotta see him in motion. That's what I'm most interested in. How fluid will the animations be? In Rayman 2, I think he was still really smooth, but the animation was really tight, which I really liked. In Rayman 3, it was a lot more loose. He was flinging around more like a cartoonish character, where in Rayman 2 he still had this cartoonish motion, but it was, I don't know, more tight. It was tight in a very good way. So I'm mostly interested in how he will move now. Yeah, so that's it. Those are my honest, raw opinions of Rayman's new model. Hard to say if I like him or I don't like him. There are a few differences I don't like, mostly the roundness of him, but just, I don't know, everything now is round. YouTube, Facebook, everything has round. Windows 11 has rounded edges. Everyone's going the round route. I hope it all turns out well.
Leon, I always appreciate your perspective. Thanks so much for dropping in, man. Okay, so you've heard from me, you've heard from Leon. I want to hear what you think now. Do you love Ray's new design? Are you disappointed by it? Do you need to see it in motion during live gameplay, like Leon said, to really make up your mind? Or do you just want to see Mario and Rayman meet on screen at the same time and to hell with everything else? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, and remember that you can always continue the conversation over in my Discord server, Terapop's Treehouse, and you can unlock bonus newsletters and podcasts and early video previews from me every month over at patreon.com/Terapop. All those links are down in the video description, along with a link to Leon's YouTube channel so you can check out his stuff too. And if you don't already know, I have a ton of Rayman and Mario plus Rabbids content here on my channel, so feel free to go back and watch those videos. To put a pin in it, I think whether you're overjoyed with this new design, or not as enthusiastic about it, or not as enthusiastic about Mario plus Rabbids, virtually all Rayman fans can probably agree things finally seem to be moving in the right direction after what's been a very tough decade for Ray and for all of us. But thank you as always for watching, friends. Be well, and I will catch you next time.